Hi, welcome to the Fire Mountain Gems and Bead Jewelry Design Studio. My name is Esther, and today I'm going to show you how to weave herringbone and start with making a ladder, which is the basic row for it. So I'll start with 2 beads, which I have in my hand here, and I'm going to put both of them on the needle, hold them securely, and pull it up to where I have about a 6/8 inch tail. Then go back through them again, exactly the same direction. If you go the opposite way, you're just going to take the beads off of your thread, and then you'll know you went the wrong way. Okay, so as I pull them, I'm going to go back through the one furthest from my working thread and go up through that bead. So as I pull it, I'm going to have 2 beads sitting right side by side. The tail going one way and the working thread going out the other way. So then I'm going to go back through that other second bead. So now I'm going to be ready to start building my ladder. So I have a bead on and go through the bead, pull it snug, down through the bead I just put on, back up through the bead that is its neighbor, and pull it snug. Back down through. I go through enough times that I have 2 threads going through on both the top and the bottom of each bead and pull it snug. The reason I do this is because on my foundation stitch, which is what this ladder is going to be for the herringbone, I like to have it nice and firm. For me, I just feel that a solid foundation is really the best way to go. I want to make sure that my beadwork will be substantial for many years, and I want it secure and strong in the beginning. So I'm doing that same process all over again. So here we have 4 beads on. So I'll pick up a bead again, go through that last bead, and it will pull up right beside the one before it. Okay, so go down through the bead you just added, back up the last one on its neighbor, and back down that new bead. That gives me, that gives me the 2 threads on both the top and the bottom. So we'll continue that for the length of whatever the width or length of your project is going to be. It just depends on which way you plan on using your seed beads. So once you get the ladder stitch to that length, here I have 10 beads. So we're going to start the first row of herringbone. So we'll put 2 beads on our needle and go down through the second bead away from our working thread, and then right back up the bead next to where your thread went down. Now we'll take 2 more beads and put on the needle. When I am doing my stitches, seed beads are not always perfectly in the same size, so I'm always looking to make sure that the 2 beads that I am using are as close to the same size as possible to make the work look a little more uniform. So we're down that bead and back up this one. Okay, now I need to put 2 more beads on, and you're down the next bead and back up. So as you're going across this row and doing this, you can kind of see how the beads are being pulled to make them look like they're kind of a little V there. And that is what's giving you the look of the herringbone stitch. So we'll finish and going all the way to the end of this row. And as you finish the rows on the end, you do something a little different. So you come down here and then you're like the wrong direction of where you need to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, this is the ladder stitch, the bottom foundation. I'm going to go over one loop from where my working thread came out, hook through that, and then go back up through those end 2 beads. So I'll pull that snug. Uh-oh, looks like I looped around something around the beadwork instead. I was looking at something else. There we go. Okay, so now we're ready to start on, which will be the 3rd row, which is the 2nd row of herringbone stitches. So you'll put 2 beads on the needle and go down through the 2nd bead in that 2nd row and up through the next bead in the row before. And you'll continue this going all the way across. So you're down through that bead. And then back up through the neighbor bead right there. As you're doing this, sometimes the beads will kind of hang up on each other a little funny. So just hit them with your thumbnail and it'll just get them going the right direction that they need to be. So you can see how this is going to continue. So, and you just continue working across, taking 2 beads, going down through the neighbor bead, and then back up through the next bead. Then when you get to the end of the row, you'll do the same as what you did before to finish it off. You'll go down and loop around like this thread over here, and then back up. So when you start a new thread on herringbone or any other stitch, I always suggest leaving your working tail that you're going to leave, and when you start a new one, start the new one, but never weave off or cut the old one until later. You always want to make sure that you are starting from the same position of where you are ending. This way it keeps your beads always totally consistent in how they look. You don't want anyone to be able to look at your work and tell where you started and stopped a thread because of how it is puckering or showing. So I'm going to put a new thread on my needle. And the amount of thread that you use totally is up to you. You want to work with an amount that is comfortable, but not so much that it's going to get tangled up every time you turn around. Now this is a little shorter than what I normally would, but because I'm going to show you how to start a new thread, I don't need to have it really long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go between a couple of beads here. Well, let me see. Hold on, Mike. I'm going to cross through here, and there's a couple of stitches that show basically the same way with how to start a new thread. So I put it down through the threads, across them, and I'm doing 2 overhand knots, going back up through your bead, and I'm going to do a half hitch where you go around the thread, pull it down where there's a little loop, take your needle back through it, make sure it's all staying down there. I'm going to go through in between there, I'm going to go over and straight back up through where my working thread had ended. So now the new thread and the working thread are both coming out of the same bead. So now I will start back doing the herringbone stitch again, the same as before. Put 2 beads on, go down through that second bead, pull them up snug, go back up through the first bead in the next row. I'm reaching over the top. Pick up 2 beads, go down through 1 bead, pull it up snug, go back up through that next bead there, pull it up, and you'll pick up 2 more beads and you will just continue going on. Now it's, when you get done, you can complete your project. You can go back and this tail that you ended with, you can weave it back in and trim them off so that they look nice and neat. That's how you'll continue on with your herringbone. So to complete your work on herringbone, you would go down and around your stitches the same way as when you add a piece of thread. Hold on, I don't want to catch that. So we're just going up and around the beads, and so it's going around that thread there, pulling it up snug. Then we're following the same line across where it was there. I'm going to go up 1, go around this thread here. I'm telling you, this thread just wants to be in the middle of the action, and I'm not going to let it. So then, before I lose this loop, I'm going to go up through it and make sure that your loop stays where you want it to, so that it's not going on anything but right in between those beads where you want it to, like so. So you'll do that a couple of times, and I'm going to go across, and now I'm going to go down 1. I just like to add a little weaving pattern instead of just going straight across, kind of in the same direction as what the thread was going when you were creating it, and doing those half hitches before I trim it. You never want to just only put 1 knot into any piece of work and then trimming right by that knot, because odds are it will come undone. You need to put a couple of knots and a little thread in between the two so that it will be secure. But that's how your herringbone is going to look. So have a good time, enjoy, and see us again.